Hello everyone, I'm Sandy Anastasi, psychic channel, intuitive astrologer, and soul coach. I'm here with my editorial blog, and I am so appreciative that you have stopped by to share this with me. Long ago, while I was still living back on Long Island, I received a dream from my higher self. It was one of the most important dreams that I've ever had. Without going into the entire dream, the message simply stated was, mankind must grow up. It was somewhat sinister in that the implication was that if we didn't grow up, humanity will not survive. That was when I began teaching in earnest. Yes, I was teaching psychic development and astrology and numerology and tarot, but I began to see that just teaching those tools wasn't enough. I had to show my students how to use them with the right values and the right ethics. I had to build into my own teachings a pathway to higher consciousness, no matter what the subject matter was. We are at the point in our evolution as a species right now when our three brains, as modern-day scientists have called them, must begin to synchronize and work together as a whole. I believe they can only do that when a connection to the higher self is made. When we make that connection, we grow up. For those of you who have not heard of this somewhat recent development in the world of psychology and mammalian development, it has been hypothesized that the first part of the brain to develop was the reptilian brain. That brain consists of the brain stem all the way back here, where the neck joins the brain. And it's the part of our brain, including the cerebellum, this area. I don't know if you can see back here. Okay. So it's the brain stem and the cerebellum. It has a totally survival-based mode of operation. So the reptilian brain around the brainstem is survival-based. The second part to develop was the mammalian brain. That part of the brain is connected to the limbic system. It's emotionally based, and it lives outside of time, just like your domestic dogs and cats do, just like animals do. It lives outside of time. This is the reason why you could reprimand your dog and 10 seconds later call him over and he's completely forgotten he was reprimanded and he's just kissing you. That dog has no sense of time, okay? It's not part of the mammalian brain. That was the second part of the brain to develop, connected to that limbic system. The third part of the brain, which is the most recent part to develop, that's where we are now as a species, is the human brain with its cognitive thinking ability. It's socially aware. It involves itself in thought constantly. It uses enormous energy in that thinking pattern. It seems to me in my researches that scientists see this as a progression, not a development. Generally speaking, they see the reptilian brain as first, and they see it as vestigial. Then they see the mammalian brain, and they see that as problematical. They don't want us to have any part of that animal part of our nature. And they want us to focus on the development of the human brain and that higher cognitive brain where we are right now. And they want us to suppress somehow the irritating urges of the first two. So we're embattled. Unsurprisingly, I do not agree. First off, the reptilian brain still has so much to offer us, far beyond the mere survival of the species. Because you see, it's the reptilian brain that offers the potential for spontaneous cellular regeneration. Things like growing limbs, superhuman strength, physical feats and abilities that are beyond our present human limitations. The mammalian brain, with its strong emotionalism, is seen as a holding place for negative emotion by modern psychology. It's a holding place, they say, for trauma, even PTSD. Science seems to be afraid of emotion, seeing emotions as trying to govern us, rather than the guidance system that they truly are. So we are advised to suppress our emotions and move on to the human brain and incorporate its understanding and intellectual appreciation to observe our emotions instead of feeling them, which actually causes us to stuff our emotions and lose our compass point for our life journey. In fact, we push those emotions, many of us do, into an unreachable place in our psyche, and then we become lost. That has resulted in more grief and more pain for humanity right now than any of us can fully appreciate. What's even worse, since the mammalian brain lives outside of time, it's the part of the brain that is most easily accessible to your higher self, which of course is not yet even on scientific radar, because you see, that's the next step in our evolution. And as such, it's not measurable yet. It's not common enough on a daily basis to be measurable, to have that need to measure it. The human brain, you see, is the cognitive and social brain whose purpose is to create methodology, tools, techniques, social awareness, systems, all those tools that help our race to evolve. It's a giant file cabinet. But it is not the final step in evolution. It's a next step. A next step. That's all it is. It is frightening in that it's egocentric and it thinks that it is the end all. That attitude of hubris prevents the human brain from fully integrating with the first two brains. Without that complete integration, it's not only incomplete, it's dangerous. Its desire to maintain control, that human brain desires to maintain control, and that desire is so strong that it has forced people, cultures, and nations in our world society to block emotional impulses to the point that they have become explosive. That action has created all the crises in the world today. I call upon you to recognize the need for the integration of all three of these brains. Please read and follow my psychic protection tip number 59 about taking your temperature. That's going to help you to reconnect with your mammalian brain and use it as the interface point to connect more strongly with your higher self. That's the next step in our development as a race of beings. The integration of those three lower brains, reptilian, mammalian, and human, and the connection to our higher self so that we can integrate that higher self as well. That's the next step in our evolution, folks. And science is in the process of discovering it. If we are to survive, to thrive, and continue to evolve this human race, it's imperative that all of us take this first, next step in our journey. Work towards making the connection to your higher consciousness. Work towards connecting and harmoniously balancing all three of the brains that you have been given to work with: reptilian, mammalian, human, and now higher self. Thanks so much for stopping by. I hope you've enjoyed this editorial blog. This one channeled straight from my guides, folks. I hope it helped you. Visit me on my website if you want to find out more about me. I'm at www.sandyanastasi.com. I would also love to hear your comments. You can write them down below, or you can write them on my website, www.sandyanastasi.com. Thank you so much. Goodbye for now.